Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back because today I'm going to give you my list for my favorite movies of 2025. Now, it is a brand new year. 2026 is here, and 2025 is now in the rearview mirror. But before we move forward, and despite the fact that there's still a lot of movies I never got the chance to review because of how busy last year was for me, I'm going to give you my list of my top 10 favorite movies of the year. But before I get started, let me know down below in the comments, what are your favorite movies of 2025? And as we get started, here are some honorable mentions, starting off with Companion, Predator, Killer of Killers, The Phoenician Scheme, Black Bag, Mickey 17, 28 Years Later, Predator Badlands, Friendship, The Naked Gun, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, The Life of Chuck, The Long Walk, Weapons, Thunderbolts, and F1. These are all movies I thoroughly enjoyed, really enjoyed watching them from beginning to end, but they didn't quite make my top 10 list by the time I was putting it all together as we got to the end of the year. And now, kicking off our top 10, we have Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein at 10th place. While Guillermo del Toro is still a filmmaker who I have yet to get to most of his movies for, I really enjoyed what I saw of Frankenstein. It is, on a technical standpoint, a masterfully made movie. From the sets, the rich and vibrant colors, to the way he explores this dynamic between Frankenstein's monster and Dr. Frankenstein himself. It is really well put to screen. It takes a lot of loose adaptations off of Mary Shelley's novel, from what I have heard, even though I have not read the novel. So I am basing this off just as a movie on its own. It is still very well made. It has a really strong opening, has a really good emotional through line to it, to have some investment, to care for this creature, and so is how Dr. Frankenstein has his big ambition that really transcends so many different things and also puts him in conflict with so many different people that he loves and also with the creature himself. And it's just absolutely a marvel to look at. It has some really amazing scenes, really well put together, and I really enjoyed the story of it here as it goes through the dangers of creation in a thing like this. And I just really enjoyed watching this movie. I do want to give it a revisit, but I walked out of Frankenstein very happy with it, very satisfied with it. And as for Guillermo del Toro, he just knocks it out of the park. And considering this was a passion project he's been wanting to do for decades, I think he absolutely nailed it. In 9th place is The Fantastic Four: First Steps. Far and away my favorite Marvel movie of 2025. This was the Fantastic Four movie I have been yearning for a very long time. It gets the characters right. Everybody's very good. The costumes are excellent. The visual effects are spellbinding. And even just the story, it takes Marvel's first family, puts them in a brand new Earth with Earth 838, and gives it a very different feel and aesthetic than what we're used to for an MCU movie, deciding to put it in a different universe that's much more vibrant as far as recent movies as of late from the MCU, and also gives it a very unique identity as we follow the first family being so popular to the people of New York City, and so as them having to protect their newborn son Franklin from Galactus and the Silver Surfer. Galactus has finally done justice on the big screen, thanks to Ralph Ineson, and Julia Garner as Silver Surfer is one of the MVPs of this movie. It has a really strong story with a really good emotional connection with the connection between the mother and the son, and so as a family trying to find a way to save not just Franklin Richards, but also the entire world from annihilation. And there's some amazing moments here. It's not the most action-packed comic book movie of the year, but when it's there, it is very cool, from the space sequences and the chase when we meet Galactus and to when the climax resolves. It is really awesome. It made me smile so hard to see a Fantastic Four movie that does all these characters justice, and I loved all the actors in the role, especially Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, and I just can't wait to see more of these characters.
New mask. Same task.
In 8th place is Begonia. Following up Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness with a black comedy like Begonia, Yorgos Lanthimos is on a streak with this movie. It is very different from something like Poor Things, but it has incredible performances from Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Both of them just deliver their A game, have such amazing scenes, and also tells a really captivating story that has the black comedy and wit from it, that has some really dark fits, but it also has a very intense nature behind it of these two men that kidnap a CEO thinking that she's an alien plotting to destroy the world. And the movie does a really good job of playing subversions or throwing ideas in there to make you think of the directions it could go into. And when it gets to the eventual outcome, it does end on a very shocking note that I was blown away by. And it's also really well crafted, from its cinematography to the sound and even the directing from Yorgos Lanthimos himself. And it is a movie that, while a lot of it rests on the shoulders of its cast, they all do a very good job. And it had a really nail-biting story that, by the end, stuck with me after watching it in theaters. And for that alone, I gotta put it on this list, so it comes in at number 8. In 7th place is Wake Up Dead Man. I am a fan of Rian Johnson's Knives Out series. I think there are great murder mysteries in today's day and age. Knives Out being one of my favorite murder mystery movies of all time. It is a masterpiece, one of my favorite movies from the year it came out. Glass Onion, although I admittedly don't love it as much as I used to, I still think is a very fun mystery movie unto itself. But Wake Up Dead Man is great. This movie is more along the lines of the first Knives Out than Glass Onion. It has a really compelling mystery set in this small town and within this church, which allows both Rian Johnson and Steve Yedlin, the cinematographer, to come up with some really cool atmosphere and shots for this movie that are very vibrant. They stand out, have an edge to it, and it definitely is the darkest of the 3 Knives Out movies. And while I do love Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, yet again, absolutely amazing in this movie, the star of the show really is Josh O'Connor as Judd. From his story about a man who's trying to breathe new life into this church, with Monsignor Jefferson Wicks as the current leader of the church, and then his murder. What does that mean for Judd, and how he tries to interact with everybody within the church and try to help Benoit Blanc solve this murder mystery. It is just really captivating, and so is the themes that go into why religious beliefs and faith are so important to certain people, especially at dark times of their lives. It is all really good. The twists and turns are very captivating to really make you think throughout the movie of what's gonna go down when we get to the big reveal. And I almost thought of something entirely different by the end until we get to the eventual outcome, which is a very satisfying resolution to the story. And as expected for Knives Out, the ensemble cast is very good, from Glenn Close, Josh O'Connor, Kerry Washington, Josh Brolin, Jeremy Renner. Everybody here is very good for the most part, and it is just really well put together, and it's a really thrilling murder mystery that I would say is closer to the level of Knives Out than it is to Glass Onion. But nevertheless, really hope Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig can make more of these movies, because they are a delight. In 6th place is Hamnet. I'm a fan of Chloe Zhao. I really enjoyed Nomadland, and I do like Eternals more than most people, but Hamnet absolutely floored me. I found this movie to be probably the saddest movie I have seen all year, and this is complimentary. I think it is an amazingly shot movie. The cinematography is gorgeous, the colors pop, the production value is very good for the movie for trying to evoke the setting that it does, and even telling a story between Agnes and William Shakespeare, especially during a very dark point in their lives, especially with the death of their son and how that creates William Shakespeare to create his iconic story. And so is how does that affect Agnes as a mother? And with all this going on, it is just so good. It is enthralling from start to finish. The music's impeccable, with some of the best music I have heard in a movie all year. One of my favorite endings I have seen all year. It is a gut-wrenching movie, has some very nice moments of levity when it happens, but it is a very dark and a very somber movie that absolutely moved me. And as someone that does really like Shakespeare and does enjoy theater, this movie struck a chord with me, and having seen it for that time in the film festival when I first watched it, it never left my mind. Without a doubt, one of the best movies to come out in 2025. And I absolutely imagine that not only the performance is just incredible from Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal, but I think that Jessie Buckley might win that Best Actress award because her work here, sublime. In fifth place is Marty Supreme. Directed by Josh Safdie of the Safdie brothers fame, Marty Supreme is an anxiety-inducing movie about a ping pong player who is trying to make it big and score big and have these really high ambitions. But similar to a movie like Uncut Gems, also directed by the Safdie brothers, he makes a lot of really bad decisions that put him in a whole lot of trouble. And it is just a 2.5-hour anxiety-inducing trip. This movie is enthralling right from the opening scene. Timothée Chalamet is just one of the best working actors of his generation, and this might be his best performance. And I say this as someone who also adores Dune Part 2. Marty Supreme is just amazing, from how it recreates the 50s to this story about Marty trying to succeed, trying to score big and become this big star that he's envisioned of, and also the people he meets along the way with wonderful performers like Odessa Zion, Gwyneth Paltrow, and even introducing people like Tyler, the Creator. It is a movie where you possibly think that it can't get worse than what it is now, and then they find a way to pull the rug out from under you, and it gets 10 times worse than you could possibly imagine. It is a movie that left me on edge, left me very nervous and scared for Marty, and so as the people around him, and how the things he does is hurting the people he cares about and also doing things to fuel his ego to score big. It is a movie that never lets up, one of the most intense movies I have seen of the decade in general. And if Timothée Chalamet wins for this, I think that would be a satisfying win because Marty Supreme truly is an excellent movie in every regard. In fourth place is Sinners. Ryan Coogler is a fantastic filmmaker from his work with Creed, Fruitvale Station, and even the Black Panther duology, and Sinners absolutely lives up to the hype. It is an incredible movie. Miles Caine delivers one of my favorite performances of the year, and he has a bright career ahead of him for what he was able to bring to life with his performance as Sammy. Michael B. Jordan as twins, Smoke and Stack, is so good that I actually thought to myself that they were real-life twins. And Haley Steinfeld and everybody else in the cast, from Jack O'Connell, Delroy Lindo, everybody is just magnificent, brings their A game. It's shot beautifully. The music, both the songs and so as Ludwig Göransson's score, are also top-notch. And the way this movie tells the story was chasing your dreams, but also adding in a very enthralling second half of this movie with this club and so as Remick and the Vampires. It is just captivating stuff through and through. One of the most memorable movies I have seen all year, a movie that never left my mind after I first saw it. It is just a masterpiece of a movie that exists in today's day and age with an incredible one-take sequence that is, without a doubt, one of the finest works of art in the decade. It is just a really strong story with really great characters and an epilogue that really solidifies that it truly is one of the best movies of the year. Ryan Coogler knocks out of the park. I'd say this is on par with Creed as far as what my favorite movie from him is. I love Sinners. It absolutely deserves the praise and so much more. In third place is One Battle After Another. This and Sinners are back and forth for me a little bit, but having just rewatched One Battle After Another, I still think it's one of the best movies that come out of last year. Paul Thomas Anderson is an incredible filmmaker who has shown so many different sides of what he can do as a filmmaker ever since he made Hard 8. And One Battle After Another, I would say, is just a fantastic effort from him. Finally pairing him up with Leonardo DiCaprio, who is really good as Bob Ferguson, with some of the best crash-out scenes of recent memory. But it's also Sean Penn's incredible performance as Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw and Chase Infinity's performance as Willa that also shine a light on One Battle After Another. It is shot gorgeously, has an incredible score from Johnny Greenwood, and also tells a really strong story about revolutionaries trying to bring change in America, and so as being a story that, if anything, is also about a father and a daughter trying to make it back to each other in light of all these events after their nemesis has resurfaced. And it is a nail-biting movie for its runtime, never gets boring, introduces a lot of really compelling characters along the way, from even Benicio del Toro's Sensei Sergio, who is one of my favorite characters for any movie last year. And it is just really good, very timely in today's day and age, but also a movie that has really funny humor, but also a lot of really personal stakes with a lot of drama. And you put all that together with Paul Thomas Anderson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and the music and the performances, and you have not only a masterpiece, but one of the best movies of 2025, and I do expect this to score really big during awards season. In second place is Superman. Now, as you see, I love Superman. I have been excited for this movie for a very long time because not only is Superman one of my favorite fictional characters of all time, but he is a character who I genuinely want to see a new movie from, and it has been 12 years since Man of Steel.
It doesn't even make any sense!
But we now have a new Superman movie from director James Gunn to kick off a brand new era of DC. And having now seen this movie so many times, by the point of making this video, I was grinning from ear to ear. This is my favorite Superman movie we've had since the original movie back in 1978. David Corenswet exudes so much charisma into the role of Superman, and it's also Nicholas Hoult being such a deliciously evil villain as Lex Luthor, and Rachel Brosnahan is without a doubt one of my new favorite takes on Lois Lane, to even the side characters like Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Metamorpho, Hawkgirl, and even the Kent family, and so as Jimmy Olsen himself. It has a ton of memorable characters. Not only is a very unique looking movie with the way it uses its wide angle shots and how it visualizes the world with the cinematography work, but it is fun, exudes a lot of hope, which is exactly what Superman stands for. And it's also such a fun movie. And the music by John Murphy and David Fleming is some of my favorite musical scores of 2025. And as someone who loves Superman, I love what this movie gave me. It's very fast-paced, never lets up, with some really good drama, some really fun characters, but also really great action sequences, as I hoped it would be. And as far as what I've hoped to see from Superman, it does give me a lot of that in the year 2025. And with how this movie did, I'm so excited to see Man of Tomorrow just next year. And so, absolutely thrilled. James Gunn is one of my favorite comic book movie directors as of late. Although I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite movie from him, I do think it's very high up there. It is super rewatchable, really fun, really charming. And as a Superman fan since I was a little kid, this movie hit all the right notes for me. But coming in at first place is Avatar: Fire and Ash. If you have followed me for the last couple of years, you would know that I am a big fan of Avatar: The Way of Water. It was one of my favorite movies of that year. In fact, I saw the movie 5 times in theaters.
I like it! Hell, I love it!
But ever since then, I have been extremely excited for the third Avatar movie. James Cameron is one of my all-time favorite directors, and I have learned, as I've grown up in life, the universal truth that you just don't bet against James Cameron. And I put all my faith in him that he was going to deliver a knockout spectacle in every sense of the word with Fire and Ash.
I like this one.
Now, as of right now, I do think The Way of Water is a better movie. I do think there is some things you could say are repetitive in Fire and Ash, but what I see as a criticism from people, I see as a feature for Fire and Ash, because it takes things that we have expected in these two movies, some of it twisted on its head. Quaritch's arc is really cool in Fire and Ash, where we take a very menacing villain and give him traits that made it seem like maybe it's possible for a redemption. Now he's going through some of the same feelings that Jake did in the first Avatar movie, especially when Quaritch is paired with Varong, played wonderfully by Una Chaplin. She is a fun, new antagonist to these movies to shake up the dynamic with the conflict against the RDA. The visual effects are utterly spectacular, as you would expect. One of the best looking visual effects in CGI I have ever seen in my life. And it's just the same here. It is a gorgeous spectacle, from the ocean to the air tribe and the air people, from the first half of the movie to the forest and the swamps, and anything that is more spiritual with Awa, to even Bridgehead City. It is all so well put together, and it is a really, really strong paced movie. It is 3.5 hours, and I honestly could have had another hour of this. That's how much I was captivated by Fire and Ash. The characters I've already really enjoyed, and this movie takes it further. Love Neytiri here. Love Jake Sully in this movie, trying to be way more proactive about the fight against the RDA, coming off of his arc from the last movie. The kids, Loak has some amazing scenes. To even Kiri, who's going deeper into her heritage, and so as her connection to Awad, what she is capable of, explored even further here. To even Spider, a character who I actually like way more than most people, who gets a very significant role in the plot. There's some really cool, unique things they do with Spider that shake up the status quo of what we've expected from Avatar and what could possibly come of humanity with this revelation. And even the spectacle is amazing. The action sequences galore are magnificent. Some of the best I have seen in a movie of this caliber from the last 10 to 20 years and just of all time. And even the actors are so good. Sam Worthington is just fantastic as Jake Sully. Zoe Saldana is one of the best actresses to have ever done mocap work as Neytiri. She is magnificent here. Even the characters like Kiri, played by Sigourney Weaver, very good. And even the newer additions, like I said, Una Chaplin as Varong, are all very memorable characters. There's some really good scenes here. And as far as the 3 Avatar movies go, not only is it the darkest, but it's also the most down bad, if you know what I mean.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
And it's just a blast. Like, it makes me so happy to see James Cameron crafting movies on this caliber in today's day and age, where maybe visual effects aren't the most consistent in quality as they used to be, but these movies just knock it out of the park. And I see this and Dune as some of the best sci-fi franchises in the game right now. And I loved Fire and Ash. It was worth every second of that 3-year wait. And while it does have a really strong third act and a really strong resolution that not only caps off the story of these movies so far very nicely, but it also makes me even more curious for when we could get that 4th and 5th movie. And I manifest that we get that.
I need it!
But I have full faith that we will get Avatar 4 and 5 into fruition and see the full story with Avatar, because I just love these movies. The more time passes, the more I really like these movies. And while I do think The Way of Water is better, Fire and Ash is very close in quality right behind it for me, with some of the best stuff you could see in blockbusters today, but also have a really entertaining story with heart, sincerity, passion, and also just giving you some of the coolest things you'll ever see in a movie in 2025. So in the end, as a big fan of James Cameron and as a really big Avatar fan of the last couple of years, in first place, with all delight for me to say, is Avatar Fire and Ash. There you have it. That is my top 10 favorite movies of the year with some honorable mentions. What are your favorite movies of the year? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to know that. Stay tuned for some upcoming videos I have planned, and don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button, and stay tuned for more.
Long live cinema.